Hey guys, today we're making beef stew in the crock pot. The main ingredients you'll need are stew meat, mushrooms, onion, carrot, parsley, red wine, dried herbs, garlic, and beef stock. You're more than welcome to use chicken stock or vegetable stock. Either one work perfectly fine. And here is the finished product. I actually ended up adding peas at the end. I just use frozen peas and I throw them in with about 10 minutes to go. So you're gonna start with some kind of stew meat, either chuck or top round. I always just buy the stuff that's already cut. And then you wanna dry the meat really well, that way it sears even better. Season really generously with salt and pepper. And then you wanna add just a little bit of olive oil to a really hot nonstick pan. Throughout this whole process, you will want to keep your pan on really high heat. When adding colder meat, the temperature of the pan is going to drop really quickly. I think it's natural for everyone to want to mess with meat when you put it in a pan or on the grill. The idea here is to create a crust and let it develop, so you want to let it sear for a couple minutes at least on each side. I usually sear my meat in 2 different batches so that the pan stays really hot, and then after that's all done, you can add it back into the crock pot. In my stew, I always put carrots, mushrooms, and then some kind of onion, and then I use parsley to garnish at the end. You'll need about 3 to 4 big carrots. I peel them and then I chop them on the bias pretty large just so they don't break down too much while cooking. And then you can add those back into the crock pot. I just used button mushrooms this time. I cut them pretty thick so that, again, they don't break down so easily. Then you can add in your mushrooms back to the crock pot. And then this is where I add the pearl onions. I have no shame in using frozen, already peeled pearl onions. In culinary school, we probably had to peel a few hundred of them, so I'm okay using frozen, already peeled ones. And then I added about a tablespoon of chopped garlic and dried thyme and dried basil. And then just like a big tablespoon of tomato paste. And then you can add your stock. I used beef stock, but you could use chicken or vegetable as well. I used about 3 cups. I don't like to cover everything completely, but at least 2/3 of the way, if not just a little bit more. I like to thicken my sauce at the end, so it's up to you. And then this is the best part. You put the lid on and forget about it. I initially set mine on high for 5 hours, and I tried the meat after 5 hours, and it wasn't quite enough time, so I ended up letting it go for a little bit longer. This is also a great thing to do on low for like 8 to 10 hours if you have the time. Now here's where the red wine comes in. You can use the same pan that you use to sear off your beef. You want to pour about half the bottle in the pan, start cooking off the alcohol, and start reducing the wine. You don't want to thicken it, but reduce it a little bit. And then you can remove all the meat and veggies with about an hour to go on your crock pot. All those residual juices and liquid, add that into the wine to start thickening and reducing the sauce. I have to have my stew with mashed potatoes, so I peeled some Yukon Golds. I typically end up reducing this sauce by about half. Depending on how thick you like your sauce, you can reduce it as much as you'd like. As the sauce continues to thicken, I finish the mashed potatoes, and then once the sauce is as thick as I'd like it to be, I add it back into the crock pot with all the meat and veggies, and I let it go for maybe about another half an hour. And once it's all finished, I serve mashed potatoes with the stew over it and parsley to garnish. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you try it.